Defamation lawsuit filed against Eastern Westmoreland MP Dr. Dayton Campbell by Western Portland MP Darrell Vaz will be settled out of court. Minister Vaz filed the suit in August 2023 in relation to comments made by Dr. Campbell during a PNP constituency conference in Clarendon in July earlier that year. Vaz claimed the PNP General Secretary defamed him while speaking at the meeting. Two other JLP members, Western St. Thomas MP James Robertson and former MP Othniel Lawrence, also filed lawsuits against Dr. Campbell for his comments that day. Minister Vaz is being represented by attorney Catherine Minto. The matter went to court on Wednesday morning. Now, the St. Elizabeth police have arrested and charged 38-year-old building contractor Joseph Finnegan with murder in the case of his girlfriend Anishka Thompson. He's also charged with using a firearm to commit a felony. Thompson was a 20-year-old student of Hilltop District, Parity, St. Elizabeth. She was found shot to death at a house with Finnegan on July 3. Finnegan, otherwise called Bug, Tyson, and contractor, told detectives then that he had removed his licensed firearm from a safe and put it on a table while getting ready for work. He said he was in the process of loading the weapon when Thompson playfully took up the firearm, and in an attempt to retrieve it from her, he heard a loud explosion. The incident happened around 8:30 a.m. Lawmen say they relied on a ballistics report in their investigation. Mining Minister Floyd Green says his confidence in the latest proposal for the reopening of Alumina Partners of Jamaica Alpart has been shored up by an agreement in writing by Jicoan Iron and Steel Company, JISCO.
When JISCO shut down, it was a kind of a rolling conversation. First there was COVID when we didn't get back up and running. Then after COVID, it was like, where you and they would have sent some teams, you would have met with those teams, and then you would have been getting some assurances. But this time, they not only reduced it to writing, but were very detailed in relation to what they plan to do for the plant.
Alpart in St. Elizabeth shuttered its doors in 2019, with the previous timelines for the reopening of the facility being pushed back. On Tuesday, Minister Green told the lower house that JISCO plans to proceed with a two-phased modernization program for the plant. Phase 1 will include the modernization of major operational systems, upgrading of plant infrastructure, redevelopment of power generation facilities, implementation of dry stacking technology for residue management, and rehabilitation of critical rail and port infrastructure. The first phase is set to take 20 months to complete, with work set to get underway later this year. Under the first phase, operational work is expected to get the plant into a state of readiness to produce 1 million tons of alumina per year. He says JISCO has also committed to an environmentally friendly power generation approach at the refinery.
When I visited their alumina refinery plant and their steel smelter, they are moving from old age power to using photovoltaic systems, solar generation to power their refineries. And they have gone far advanced, not just in the capturing the sunlight, but also in the battery storage to allow them. So they are going to be bringing some of that technology to Jamaica, and they have a clear direction that the power that they're using will be green power. So it's either they're looking at photovoltaic system, renewable energy, or liquid natural gas, so that they reduce their carbon footprint. So there has been no concessions on the environmental side.
Floyd Green, a mining minister, speaking on Nationwide this morning on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Minister Green says that JISCO is set to benefit from the tax concessions that were approved when it took ownership of Alpart.
We had some discussions with the Ministry of Finance also in relation to whether they could benefit from the tax concessions for another 5-year period. And we had already agreed that that would be the case, especially appreciating that in the initial stages of the operation and what was invested and the employment benefit, they would have employed about 1,000 people, and that quite frankly, that in that stage they were unable to recoup and that they didn't fully use the concessions that were provided to them, that based on the level of investment, that level of concession would make sense. And as such, that is something that has already been indicated to them.
Floyd Green, Mining Minister. Minister of Labour and Social Security Colonel Charles Jr. says verification by third parties is at the root of a lot of the delays being experienced by beneficiaries of the ROOFs program. This following reports by Nationwide News on Monday of a woman in St. Elizabeth who submitted her application in January and has been waiting on a housing grant since then. According to the Springfield St. Elizabeth resident Marlene Campbell, she has been sleeping in a chair under tarpaulin since the passage of Hurricane Melissa in October last year. Mahira Stewart reports.
Minister Charles says in Springfield alone, some 300 households were affected by Melissa. Ms. Campbell's home was among them. It sustained significant damage as the walls and roof collapsed. She says she has struggled to get information from her local National Insurance Scheme office. Speaking on Nationwide this morning on Wednesday, Minister Charles said the ministry has reached out to Ms. Campbell.
It appears that Ms. Campbell's situation is one where there is a verification that she did receive damage. So she was assessed and she is going to receive some payment. I'm waiting today to hear what the allocation of that payment will be, meaning is it minor, major, or severe. In my conversation with her, it appears that it is major.
According to the Social Security Minister, the bottleneck has been the verification process.
Some of these matters that have been processed to be treated with by surgical or another stakeholder, seeing where the inability to contact the person has caused significant delay. We're seeing where sometimes the person is processed, but there is the need for verification as to which category, and so it has caused delay.
Minister Charles says his team is set to carry out a reconciliation blitz in the Springfield and Newmarket areas of St. Elizabeth on Friday. This in an effort to check and correct information for persons who the ministry has flagged for data submission errors. 118,000 households have been assessed. 50,000 households have already received a benefit, with more being processed daily. Meanwhile, another 4,000 have so far been re-verified under the reconciliation phase of the program. $10 billion was allocated for the program, but in large part, that has now been exhausted. Minister Charles says additional financial assistance for the program is expected in short order.
We expect that we're going to get some support from the Minister of Finance very soon to boost the urgent response as a part of what Cabinet had mandated. So we are looking at the next 4 weeks as an important time in which we'll be able to move those numbers up, and not just move them up, but specifically to address those issues for persons who